Natalie, welcome back. I am so excited this week because I'm introducing another business book. I literally have pages and pages of notes because it's so deep, it's so dense, and it's great for ministry. And it's called Built to Last. I think it's important that we start asking the questions about our ministries. Are they built to last? When I first started studying business, I had about 8 years at that point of ministry experience. I also had my master's in theology, all these various things. But I remember my reaction reading and learning these organizational strategies. I was sitting there with my head in my hands at my desk, just thinking, why didn't I have this information sooner? Everything would have been different. Everything. In fact, I was so excited about what I was learning that a year later I quit my job in order to share this information with you because I think it is that valuable. I have found that the greatest entrepreneurial saints of the church has ever seen, that they were using these strategies in order to build ministries that have lasted for centuries, that have survived wars, that have survived depressions, that have endured persecution. They used these practices. And I really believe that if something is good, that it comes from God. There are some excellent things that have happened in the business world that we can apply to ministry in order to make us more effective in sharing God's truth and His love with the whole world. That's why these books are worth studying. It took them over 6 years, a whole team of researchers, in order to write this book. And they started writing this book because they noticed some standout companies. They took roughly from a pool of 1,600 of the best worldwide institutions. They used a very rigorous research tools in order to narrow it down, and out of 1,600 of the best companies in the world, they only found 18 companies that they called visionary companies. Visionary companies are the premier institutions, the crown jewels in their industries, widely admired by their peers and having a long track record of making a significant impact on the world around them. The key point is that a visionary company is an organization, an institution. All individual leaders, no matter how charismatic or visionary, eventually die. And all visionary products and services, all great ideas, eventually become obsolete. Indeed, entire markets can become obsolete and disappear. Yet visionary companies prosper over long periods of time through multiple product life cycles and multiple generations of active leaders. These are companies that survived world wars. These are companies that have survived depressions, but in spite of significant obstacles, they have continued to thrive. Why do these companies stand out? What makes them special? They just didn't study these visionary companies in isolations. They actually found comparison companies who didn't quite meet that standard of excellence. The comparison companies in our studies are not dog companies, having survived in most cases as long as the visionary companies, and, as you'll see, having outperformed the general stock market. But they don't quite match up to the overall stature of the visionary companies in our studies. In most cases, you can think of the visionary company as the gold medalist and the comparison company as the silver or bronze medalist. It is so much fun for me to read this book because, again, if you have a gold medalist company and then a bronze medal company, what sets those apart? And the differences are subtle but extraordinary. And I was so excited because I really believe that some of the principles that these businesses, perhaps unknowingly, were using are rooted in some deep truths that you can find in scripture and tradition. Now, even as I say this, I do want to be careful and make a disclaimer that I am not aligning myself necessarily with these companies by using them as some of these examples. They are not perfect institutions. They're certainly not infallible. I just want to look at some of the better practices that they use and try to learn from them so that we can do better ministry. But I do want to be very careful in saying that just because we can look at some of their practices doesn't mean necessarily that I'm agreeing with everything that these companies have ever done. We good on that? Solid? All right. Okay, now we can move on. I just want to focus on the title. It's called Built to Last. And this is where I see a connection with ministry, because I meet so many people all the time who are in their communities and God starts tugging on their hearts and they see a need, an unmet need. These kind of people I like to call ministerial entrepreneurs. How do you build a ministry that's going to last? Because if this need is important, then it's probably bigger than just you. So how do you build a foundation for this ministry so that it's going to endure, that it's going to grow, that it will survive when you encounter persecution and obstacles and struggles? Not an if, when. How do you build that ministry that lasts? Once you get started building that ministry, I don't want to see you become burned out or bitter. I want to see you with that ministry grow and multiply so that you can reach more of the elderly that you love. You can reach more of the homeless on the streets. You can help those teenagers who are struggling with drug addictions. You can help more and more and more people because you have the right tools to do so. By studying the right tools and the right strategies, we can be more faithful to the call that He is placing on our hearts. It's exciting because it is possible. You just need to know how to get started. Okay. All right. First steps in getting started. Now, this one might come as a shock that I'm going to recommend this to you, but prayer. It's not in the book Built to Last. But again, before we start talking about these tools, go back to prayer. I do have a Bible verse that I really want to recommend to you that you would take and be able to meditate on as you start praying and thinking about working on a ministry or rejuvenating one that you're already in. Which of you wishing to construct a tower does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if there is enough for its completion? Otherwise, after laying the foundation and finding himself unable to finish the work, the onlookers should laugh at him and say, "This one began to build, but did not have the resources to finish." Here's some of the questions that you can maybe think about with that scripture verse. First, resources. What time do you honestly have right now? Looking at your life, figure out how much time you can dedicate to this ministry. 2, what are your responsibilities to your family, particularly if you are a parent or a spouse? How will doing this ministry affect them? And how can you live your primary vocation first? And 3, where are you going to get the capital, the money to make this happen? And this is interesting because actually, I don't think that you need to have an answer yet to that question, but it's a fantastic exercise in trusting God when you start ruminating over that question and saying, "Lord, I think you're calling me to a ministry and we have no money to make it happen. How are you going to make it happen?" Tell me about it. I want to hear your thoughts. Comment below. Don't forget to like the Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube page so you can get more updates on tools on how to move forward in building ministry that can last. May God bless you. You're doing awesome work. I'll see you next week.